This is a wonderful worldwide vision, influenced by content.
Even if I'm meant to take it out, then it's probably out of this world. I'm a model of the world, I'm a represent God in this earth. And the north side of the church, the Father is first. I don't have a physical Bible, but baby, my Bible that broke. I know God is the one that shows us the way.
This is the best.
That is through Jesus Christ, and I'm certain that all things are possible if you believe. So keep on speaking life. I know from the love of God that nothing can separate me. Not even death, either life. I know poverty catches up with too much slumber or sleep. So I'ma just sleep at night, and the Lord is my strength. But who should I be afraid of? I fall on my knees and repent. He's better than what I done gave her. If I knew I'm being sent, Satan gon' see what I'm made of. Man, if he had any sins, I'm telling you now he would change him. It's a delicate thing when I say I'm a step for the king. I put that on everything. Was a mess, I'm clean. I don't mess with the devil, it stings. I love and respect that Lord, he be setting us free. We know that all things are working together, declare and decree. Do you know of all the things God has prepared for me? No, it's never been seen.
Everything shared, presented, viewed and said is not to suggest that any person, place, or thing do or be anything.
Now, it's time for the show. Brought to you by, influenced by, content. On, our universe, radio station. What if I said this?
What if I said this? A lot of people conceive of freedom as limitlessness. And that's
Right,
not what
that's not
it is.
true. No, it's not true.
Freedom is the space to do something productive.
Right,
Right? You don't become free to destroy, to tear
Right.
things down, to
Right.
put out propaganda and lies and ignorance.
right,
Freedom is the space to grow,
right,
flourish, to
right,
create. And that's what's really at the heart of that amendment, freedom of expression. And in that expression, we're searching for the source of ideas that lead to health, wealth, and prosperity. That's the source of ideas that we are thinking through and exploring, and really an effort to tear down those destructive ideas that lead to a chaotic life.
and also to be studious in it. You see what I mean? To ask those who have authority over the amendment and what is free for us to do, to give input into that, along with an audience of opinionated followers of those who control whatever's been put and set in order.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important too. Like, not to just say like, oh, we're just trying to say it so y'all say whatever you want and only what y'all are saying matters to us because we the people, right? No. We the people under this governing or this order, because without this governing and order, there's anarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we must do it within some sort of practical application and discipline. It can't just be haphazardly spewing words or thoughts. You have to have some realistic approach to growing in it and evolving expression. And as we do it on platforms for audiences, national and international, there's a responsibility and accountability that comes with that privilege.
Absolutely.
And I think that several people are avoiding that whole reality in order to justify, leverage, and qualify their ignorance. So I don't think that we should advocate that, and I think this allows us to be mediators and also participators at the same time.
Yeah. And I think it's also about thinking through the potential consequences of what you say.
Now watch
this. Elon Musk, right here. I mean, you have talked about this woke mind virus.
Yes.
In really apocalyptic terms.
Yes.
You should explain why you don't think it's hyperbole to say things like it's pushing civilization towards suicide. First of all, what is the woke mind virus? And if we don't deal with this, nothing else can get done. Tell me why you think that.
I think we need to be very cautious about anything that is anti-meritocratic and anything that is that results in the suppression of free speech. So, those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous. Is that it's often anti-meritocratic. You can't question things. Even the questioning is bad. Almost synonymous would be cancel culture. And obviously people have tried to cancel you many times.
Many times.
Yeah.
What if I said this? Criticize the idea,
Not the person.
not the person.
Right. So we don't kill the messenger.
Yeah.
Now watch
Free speech is actually is extremely important, and I think we should be extremely concerned about anything that undermines the First Amendment. There's a reason for the First Amendment. The First Amendment is because people came from countries where they could not speak freely. And by the way, in many parts of the world, including parts of the world that people might think are relatively similar to the United States, the speech laws are draconian. I really can't emphasize this enough. We must protect free speech. And free speech only matters, it's only relevant when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like, because obviously speech that you like is,
yes.
It's easy. So it's the thing about censorship is that, sure, for those who would advocate it, just remember, at some point, that will be turned on you.
So, this woke mind virus, how did it start? Was it bats? Was it a escape from a lab? I mean, what is your assessment of what? Because it's fairly recent. How did it start and why?
I was trying to figure out where it's coming from. I think it's actually been a long time brewing, in that it's, I think it's been going on for a while. The amount of indoctrination that's happening in schools and universities is, I think, far beyond what parents realize.
What if I said this? If everything is something that's programmed, influenced, taught, and learned, then you really can't say it's yours, right? Even if we're discussing something that someone else has created, accomplished, said, and or done, it's not yours to claim ownership of or to speak of as if it's yours or you have some entitlement to it. You have to dialogue about it as if you understand you have no ownership or authority when you speak about it. And I think that's one of the things that, in dialoguing with people, the dogma and the pious takes over and makes it so you avoid that whole thinking where you're not the authority and you don't own it. So when people stand up and say, like, I am the authority in this idea box or that idea box, well, you're not the originator of it, so you can't be the authority, right? We're all evolving the originator's idea to the concept of the pencil, right? So if the pencil concept, when it's taught, is that somebody created a metal piece that holds the eraser, somebody then made it so that there's a lead dispensing pencil, then we have to think of it the same way when we speak about different ideas and facets of constructual things and social things.
Does that mean that, like, all ideas are shared ones?
Yes. Once they become public, they're all shared. But you have to be responsible in your engaging and sharing. It's just like anything else. If we all go into McDonald's to buy something, whether it's in the drive-thru or standing in the line or at the kiosk, we have to be responsible and accountable for what we think, say, and do as we all come into that mutual space.
Yeah, because we're sharing space.
Right. We can't do it absent the accountability and responsibility of what we should be in a healthy manner as we share the space. And I think people try to relate void of that thinking.
Yeah, definitely, because it's when you think about the same scene at McDonald's, right? There's a social contract that we share when we walk into McDonald's.
That's true.
It's not going to be okay for you to urinate in the middle of the restaurant floor.
That's not.
And no one is going to say that I'm infringing on your rights or freedoms by telling you that you cannot urinate in the middle of the restaurant floor.
Also true.
But it seems like when we get into idea boxes, when we start sharing dialogue, when we start sharing discussions, the way that freedom is used is to suggest that there are no rules. There's no social contract that we're sharing as we are discussing and thinking through these things. There are consequences for what you say.
There
are consequences for what you think.
What if I said this, that we no longer should relate socially in ambiguity? What if I said we need to now write social, relatable laws, and that socially we should be held to those, and write rules and regulations for everything that's shared socially? That way, when somebody does or says something, it's not left to a bias, a dogma, or a qualifying, leveraging, justifying stance. That would make a huge difference. So that way we would all know what's wrong socially, what's right socially. Because leaving that there that way, and if we're creating at this point legislation for communication and projection in an internet format, then that in turn is creating just that, right? To a certain degree. It's saying now socially there are laws.
Now watch this.
Yeah.
See, here's why I don't tweet anymore, because you may be the mayor of Tweet Town now.
Yeah. And I'm mayor of Tweet Town. I'm getting a cap with that.
And I'm glad, and I like it that the mayor likes my jokes. But the reason I don't do it anymore is because the mob of Mean Girls is still there. And that has not changed.
No,
like, it's too easy to get canceled. And I don't even know what pisses them off. I feel like I'm walking on a roof with a blindfold. I could fall off any time.
Yeah.
Now, that was the most innocuous thing, but it's like, you know, I said George Washington was a great president. Oh, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It had some flaws, but
So how do you fix that?
He was instrumental in the
Mr. Mayor?
creation of the United States. So
Yeah.
you have to say, like, what does canceled mean? You know, I mean, yes, if people attack you on Twitter, that's one thing, but frankly, that's just going to increase engagement. So I would just ignore it.
Well, that's easy for you because they can't take your job away or any of your main 10 jobs, but they could take mine, and they did once, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well, fair.
You know, I was like literally canceled. And,
You were literally-
yeah, I mean, like the show
like,
is
what's
canceled.
that? It's
So,
like,
so you were in Congress, at Congress the other day, talking with Chuck Schumer about AI. I'm very interested.
So I think that when we conceive of laws, we conceive of them as restraints, right? So you should not do this, and if you do this, there's this consequence. What if I said that a social standard for which one could aspire and one can maneuver in may be fruitful as far as like mobile and dynamic like human interactions, as opposed to if you were to create some law and then we have to wait a couple of years to see how that law functions, how law works. But certain standards around social interactions help us to think about what we envision the social interaction to be, as opposed to what we don't want it to be. So as opposed to like, you can't, for example, you consider a speed limit. A speed limit is to restrain you from going faster.
Correct.
But it doesn't influence the speed. It doesn't influence the speed you should drive. So although that they're
or you desire to drive it.
yeah, right. So it's not the highway isn't trying to get everyone to reach in the safest way its maximum potential. But that's what you might want for a growing society.
That's true.
For everyone to reach the peak of potential.
Yeah.
Right, to actualize the potential that they have. So then the standard could kind of be the road without speed limits. So so in kind of the analogy I'm using, the road is the standard and the speed limit is the law.
Well, okay. What if I said, let's use belief-based, documented, literary formats as a basis for what we're speaking about right now, where the standard of what is acceptable socially and unacceptable socially, or wanted or unwanted in a behavioral sense, is set for your betterment and to inhibit problematic situations. It's still written though.
Now watch this.
I won't name any countries, but
England. Why are we protecting them? They have no First Amendment. It's very easy to prove libel in England, whereas here it's almost.
I love England, but
yeah, I do too. But I wouldn't want to say the wrong thing. Or
yes,
you could be sued easier. There are law in France. I think if you deny the Holocaust, which I think is abhorrent, but I also think it should be part of free speech.
Right.
What if I said this? The lack of the literature as it applies in the continued absence of documented social standards is a major issue across the globe.
I can't deny that.
That would make so for instance, like if someone's complaining about what's being done in this area of the world, in comparison to what's being done in this area of the world. And it's okay over here, but it's not okay over here. And then it's circumstantial that's fine in these moments, but it's not fine in these moments, right?
Yeah.
So a soldier on a battlefield is not considered a murderer,
Nope.
right? But
because of the standard of operation. It's
right.
a different context. Yeah.
Right. But a civilian who operates in the same way, if they justified as defending their people and their land, they would be considered a murderer under certain standards.
Yeah, they'd be a criminal.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
they're operating in and of themselves, and they're not a direct ambassador for the people group that they say they are.
Exactly. So I think that if it was written, it would make it so that we would see clear life in a certain way, so that we aren't going about it, bumbling through everything in our own opinionated way, inventing problems and issues, because there is no set standard to how we should relate in a social fashion. You see what I mean? It's just not there. It's just not there. And if it was scripted out, it would be easier to say that's right, that's wrong. But right and wrong in a social area of relating is strictly opinionated.
Yeah, without some sort of standard,
right,
to place everything.
And then
it's absolutely opinionated.
Then no matter what happens, we do things like, oh, this person had mental issues, that's why they went in here and did this. And even if we all see it as something that's not wanted as a society, we still give qualifiers so that it makes sense.
Yes.
And that can happen if there's no standard. If there's a standard, it wouldn't allow somebody to leverage that understanding to say, but that's okay. And then we can see where systematically things are failing, right?
But that's how, like, the idea goes too far beyond our embodiment, right? And I think that's the benefit of using a spatial analogy, is that it keeps you within a spatial frame.
Right.
So if we go back to our road analogy, the road is the standard, the speed limit, the signs on the side of the road represent the law.
Right.
If a car runs off the road, me saying that the tire blew and the wheel went out of alignment doesn't change that they're off the road. It's just telling you why they are off the road.
That's a fact.
But we don't automatically start saying that, oh, now it's okay now to just like drive into the woods. So, it doesn't become okay because we know why it happened.
Now watch this.
The Bible verse turned this man into a billionaire. David Stewart is the owner of Worldwide Technology, the largest black-owned company in the United States, giving him a net worth exceeding $5 billion. And he credits his faith for getting him there, and here's how he did it. David Stewart started as a sales executive for FedEx, but he knew he was called to do more in his life. So in 1991, he founded W.I.S.T. But in less than a year of founding his company, a business partner embezzled millions of dollars in the company's revenue, putting David on the verge of bankruptcy. So one night, David was stuck at the office, crying because he was about to have to close his business for good. But that's when he got a call from his mother-in-law telling him to read Psalms 91. Being a staunch Christian, David listened. From that moment on, David ditched his secular approach to business and began to lead every call, meeting, and interaction about WWT with his belief in Christ. 20 years later, he's now the second wealthiest black man in America, and David credits the Bible verse for showing him the way.
What if I said there's an argument out there that says there's no such thing as accidents or mistakes, because the variables that lead up to an occurrence based on the concepts of cause and effect make it so that saying that was an accident or a mistake isn't possible. Something happens for something to happen. Nothing happens absent something happening. And you are aware in some way, shape, or form leading up to an occurrence. You have to do something in order to make yourself available for whatever narrative you become part of. Now, there can become a point where something happens in that narrative that's beyond your control, but at some point, you actively participate in what leads up to whatever occurs.
Yeah, or you don't see how what you didn't have the foresight to know that what you did would eventuate in this.
That's true, but we will only say that was valid for someone in a certain mental space, and whether it's because of their age and lack of exposure or teaching,
Yeah.
and or some sort of inhibitor or some sort of influence in the moment that causes the being to not comprehend the ramifications of what they're participating in. But if we can see based on standard that all of those things aren't valid reasonings for this occurrence, we still can't excuse the accountability and responsibility that leads up to the moment. And I think like for anybody who's going to live forward and evolve consciously, that is best for a worldwide vision of us living forward in a healthy way. For us to accept the fact that we are doing something, whether it's getting dressed to go out. It could be something simple like answering the phone and agreeing to show up and then showing up. These things matter in the narratives that lead to driving off the road. Right? Driving off the road doesn't just happen. So I think that in dialoguing about things, the desire to excuse ourselves by using words like accident and mistake avoids accountability and responsibility at times when we're discussing things in an opinionated way.
Yeah.
We got to do better. We got to do better, and that's the only way that we are going to become better as a world, as a community, and as individuals. It's about our input to our output. And if we don't accept the fact that every little thing we do, think and say matters, then we can output whatever we want haphazardly and say, oh, that was a mistake. That was an accident. That's trying to excuse it.
Yeah, it becomes a crutch to not have standards.
So then we're handicapping ourselves as a world. So to argue about the occurrence without addressing what leads up to what happens is not healthy for us in a diagnosis of what we need to do towards betterment.
Yeah, because the root of the issue is in the ground.
Yes.
And we're talking about flowers, but you got to get to the heart of the matter, and that's something to think about and help you see clear when you step back and say, what were even in an introspective way, the mistakes of one's life are sites for growth, sites for self-reflection, sites for self-awareness. Say, like, what led me there? Was I emotionally intoxicated? Was I constantly distracted? Was I chronically tired because I just was staying up? I wasn't getting rest. Right? So was I emotionally drained? Was I overspent? There's so many different ways of thinking. Like, no, I knew that I was doing this in the moment that I was doing it. And at that time, what I can, in retrospectively, I can soberly say was a mistake. At the time that I'm doing it, feels right. I think that step back is what it help us see clear. That in the moment, if you can detach to say, okay, what's going on? Let me check in.
Yeah, I think when we say things like, I want to be successful, that's very vague. Until you identify what being successful means, you really don't have a standard to be held to.
Now watch this.
Warren, how would you define true success?
Well, I've said many times that if you get to be 65 or 70 and later, and the people that you want to have love you actually do love you, you're a success. I've never seen anybody that reaches that age. I mean, I'm not talking about somebody that's in extreme poverty or pain or something, but I've never seen anybody that, if they have a lot of people that love them, that is other than happy. And I've seen some very, very wealthy people that they give testimonial dinners to and name schools after and everything. Nobody loves them. You know, their own kids would say, he's in the attic. You know?
So you can do, think, and say whatever you want, if you're being vague when you explain what you intend, think, or desire. But once you state emphatically and definitely what you mean when you express a certain thing, it'll change what we can hold you to, right? What if I said, if someone's saying, I want to be a star athlete, and they never work out, they never train, they never practice, they're not good students, we can simply say, you don't want to do this.
Yeah, you don't want to be a star athlete.
Right. There's no way you want to be a star athlete. You might want to be an athlete, but not a star athlete. Right? And to further that, I want to be the greatest of all times in something in sports and entertainment. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're not showing the fortitude and discipline to do post-game interviews and control your emotional self and express things in a way that allows you to project yourself in a favorable mindset to the audience experiencing you, greatness is not what you're aiming at.
Now watch this.
And you were mic'd up tonight. At one point I heard you say, this is 40.
Yeah.
Just what impresses even you about what 40 has looked like for you?
I have no idea how I'm still doing this, Lisa. Man above gave me some great gifts. I've tried to take full advantage of it. I put all the work, all the dedication into the game, and it's given me so much. So, but I have no idea how I'm still doing this at this level.
What if we said, instead of I want to be, I want to become?
That would be better.
Because I think that be, even though it can look towards the future, I think sometimes when we say that, we're feeling now, and
right.
we're not thinking about the process necessary for my becoming. Right? So you can say, I want to be a star athlete, and you might already be an athlete.
That's true.
So you're really just kind of hyping yourself up by saying star. But if you say, I want to become a star athlete, that suggests that you aren't. You're not a star, and you're aware that currently, as is, you are not a star athlete.
Again, that leans more into practical application that leads to something. So you have to start somewhere to get somewhere, right? And the foundation or the fundamentals that lead you to being starts with becoming. And the habit set that allows you to become what you're going to be has to be something worked towards, practiced, and evident. It can't just be spoken and thought and we accept it as true. There has to be evidence of it in your living. And if there's no evidence of it in your living where we can all experience it and say, yes, even if it doesn't seem like this being or person is that right now, I can see how when they say I'm in the process of becoming this, it's true.
Yeah. You can see the habits forming, you can see the discipline starting, you can see the passion,
the energy and effort, the time spent.
Yep.
And everything that you think, say, and do is going in that path. So it's no need to scrutinize one who is thinking, saying, and doing things, no matter how opinionated we may be, as we compare that being or person to others who have become great or that we think may be great. We can at least see how there's evidence of the possibility. So we're not doing it just off of gifted potential alone.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a huge difference.
We're not okay with saying you want to become something you don't want to put time in to become.
Right.
Because time is really, focused time is the investment to your future.
Yes.
As it relates to becoming and as it relates to success. And a lot of, it's easy to say, I want to lose weight. I want to get to the next financial bracket. I want to start my own business. It's an infinite list of things that you say you want to do.
Right.
But where are you going to invest your time? Where are you going to focus your time to where that becomes a thing? If you don't focus time on whole health, you're not going to be balanced and healthy in that sort of way. If you don't focus your time on learning the ins and outs of whatever market that you're trying to start business in, crafting a business plan, doing the budgets and things like that, the chances of your success are slim.
Now watch this.
What are, say, 3 pieces of advice you would give to people who are looking to succeed in business?
Well, by far the best investment you can make is in yourself. I mean, for example, communication skills. I tell the students that come that they're going to graduate schools and business, and they're learning all these complicated formulas and all that. If they just learn to communicate better, and both in writing and in person, they increase their value at least 50%. And, I mean, if you can't communicate, somebody says, it's like winking at a girl in the dark. Nothing happens, basically. And you have to be able to get forth your ideas, and that's relatively easy. I did it myself with the Dale Carnegie course. Some people wish I'd taken a shorter course now in terms of my talking later on. But it's just hugely important. And if you invest in yourself, nobody can take it away from you. I mean, the second thing, which I'll get a certain criticism for not living it, but I do tell those students, that if I gave you a car and it'd be the only car you get in the rest of your life, you take care of it like you can't believe. Any scratch, you'd fix that moment. You read the owner's manual. You keep a garage and do all these things, and you get exactly one mind and one body in this world. And you can't start taking care of it when you're 50. By that time, you'll have rusted out if you haven't done anything. So you should really make sure that you just remember that you just got one mind and body to get through life with and to do the most with it.
What about life advice?
Well, life advice is, the most important thing, aside from the things I've talked about already, is really who you associate with. You want to associate with people that are better than you are. I mean, basically, you'll go in the direction of the people that you associate with, and you want to have the right heroes. You want people, if you want to emulate somebody, you better pick very carefully who you want to emulate. And when obviously you can't pick your parents, they're going to have an enormous influence on you, but you don't get a choice on that. But you get choices as you go down the line, and who you admire, who you want to copy, and the most important for most people in terms of that decision is their spouse. It's also important in terms of a partner in business, but the partner in life is the most important one. You want to pick a spouse that's better than you are, and then he or she, and you hope they don't figure it out too fast.
Great. Biggest mistakes people make when investing?
Well, they try to, they just don't realize that all you have to do is just buy a cross-section of America and then never listen to people like me or read the papers or do anything subsequently. They think that because you can trade, you should trade. You buy a farm, you buy an apartment house, you can't resell it tomorrow, and the cost of moving around. Now you get something handed to you, liquidity, which is instant. You can sell, and the cost of doing it are pennies, compared to other kinds of investment activity. So because they can so easily move around, they do move around, and moving around is not smarter than investing.
What if I said this? Sometimes phrase usage or assumed understanding of phrase usage perpetuates the terminal lifestyles in the concept of the phrase ignorance is bliss. So for instance, time is money. I think that to what you just said, you have to invest your time in a certain way to produce a certain amount of money. I think that would be a better way of stating that over saying time is money, and assuming that everybody who hears that knows the investment of your time and the productivity in that time is what, or the accumulated productivity in that time over time makes you wealthy in a monetary sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't say things like, well, I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be very helpful to say things like time is money because you want to be on time for a 3-hour movie.
Right.
You're not making any money by watching a 3-hour movie. Unless you're a movie critic, right?
Right.
Unless you're a movie critic or you are an actor in that movie and you're trying to critique yourself, you'll come back. You're not making, there's no connection to you making money and you spending 3.5 hours in the movie theater.
After you spent whatever time to make the money to afford to go to the movie.
Afford the movie, yep.
Right? So this is according to time is money, this is an empty investment of your time as it applies to your money.
Yeah, exactly, because this is a time where you're losing both time and money.
Right.
because you're draining the account on both things.
That's true.
So that's interesting that you say that, because I'm pretty sure that we can think of multiple phrases that are like that.
That's true.
Multiple phrases that like assume a certain level of understanding and really can be true. Like the phrase that we talked, time is money, can be true when it's properly understood. Like a certain ways, the focused investment of your time.
Yes.
right. The proper stewardship of your time. Like
yes. The management, the organization.
Yes.
All of that matters. The structure in which you have decided to focus in your time towards your goals and objectives produces the results of success and wealth. That's why I say, like, when people say things like wealth and success, I want to be wealthy, I want to be successful. Well, without understanding the fundamental things that lead to whatever success and wealth is, then it's a pointless statement. It's void of the power or empowerment to lead you to success as it applies to wealth. There are other variables that play a part there that are absent in just saying, I want to be successful when it comes to wealth. You don't have it. You have to have the building blocks and have to have the things, like you said, from the ground up that are building you into success as it applies to wealth. It starts way before you get to the concept of money, finances, economy. Understanding those things alone and studying those things alone won't make you wealthy, because you could hit the lottery and then end up broke because you have not worked on the disciplines of somebody who wants to be successful as it applies to wealth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think, like I said, I don't think we should continue to live in the bliss of the ignorance and assumed understandings.
Now watch this.
January 29, 1954, Oprah Winfrey is born. Born in Mississippi, Oprah Winfrey was reared by her grandmother on a farm, where she began her broadcasting career by learning to read aloud and perform recitations at the age of 3. 1960, Oprah Winfrey moved to Milwaukee. From age 6 to 13, she lived in Milwaukee with her mother. After suffering abuse and molestation, she ran away and was sent to a juvenile detention home at the age of 13, only to be denied admission because all the beds were filled. 1963, Oprah Winfrey is raped at age 9. She claims she was raped at age 9 and repeatedly molested by her mother's cousin's boyfriend. At age 14, her mother sent her to live with her father in Nashville, Tennessee. Vernon was strict but encouraging and made her education a priority. Winfrey became an honor student and received a full scholarship to Tennessee State University, a historically black institution where she studied communications. 1963, Oprah Winfrey becomes pregnant. She became pregnant and gave birth to a stillborn baby boy when she was 14. The death of her baby devastated her, and she vowed to turn her life around. 1971, Oprah Winfrey wins the Miss Black Tennessee Beauty Pageant. At age 18, Winfrey won the Miss Black Tennessee Beauty Pageant. She also attracted the attention of the local black radio station, W.I.I.S.T, which hired her to do the news part-time. She worked there during her senior year of high school and again while in her first 2 years of college. August 14, 1978, People Are Talking is released. Working in local media, she was both the youngest news anchor and the first black female news anchor at Nashville's W.I.I.S.T TV. She moved to Baltimore's WJZ TV in 1976 to co-anchor the 6 o'clock news. She was also co-host of WJZ's local talk show, People Are Talking, which premiered on August 14, 1978. 1983, Oprah Winfrey moves to Chicago. In 1983, Winfrey relocated to Chicago to host W.I.I.S.T TV's low-rated half-hour morning talk show, AM Chicago. The first episode aired on January 2, 1984. Within months after Winfrey took over, the show went from last place in the ratings to overtaking Donahue as the highest-rated talk show in Chicago. It was renamed The Oprah Winfrey Show, expanded to a full hour, and broadcast nationally beginning on September 8, 1986. December 18, 1985, The Color Purple is released. In 1985, Winfrey co-starred in Steven Spielberg's epic film adaptation of Alice Walker's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Color Purple. She earned immediate acclaim as Sophia, the distraught housewife. The following year, Winfrey was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, but she lost to Angelica Houston. 1986, Oprah becomes a millionaire. Born in rural poverty and raised by a mother dependent on government welfare payments in a poor urban neighborhood, Winfrey became a millionaire at the age of 32 when her talk show received national syndication. Winfrey negotiated ownership rights to the television program and started her own production company. February 10, 1993, Oprah Winfrey interviews Michael Jackson. In 1993, Winfrey hosted a rare primetime interview with Michael Jackson, which became the 4th most watched event in American television history, as well as the most watched interview ever, with an audience of 100 million people. 1995, Oprah becomes the richest African American of the 20th century. At the age of 41, Winfrey had a net worth of $340 million and replaced Bill Cosby as the only African American on the Forbes 400. With a net worth of $800 million in the year 2000, she is believed to have been the richest African American of the 20th century. 1996, the Oprah Effect. The power of Winfrey's opinions and endorsement to influence public opinion, especially consumer purchasing choices, has been dubbed the Oprah Effect. The effect has been documented or alleged in domains as diverse as book sales, beef markets, and election voting. Late in 1996, Winfrey introduced the Oprah's Book Club segment to her television show. The segment focused on new books and classics and often brought obscure novels to popular attention. The book club became such a powerful force that whenever Winfrey introduced a new book as her book club selection, it instantly became a bestseller. 2002, the Oprah Magazine. Winfrey publishes the magazine O, the Oprah Magazine from 2004 to 2008, also published a magazine called O at Home. In 2002, Fortune called O, the Oprah Magazine, the most successful startup ever in the industry. 2004, Oprah becomes the world's only black billionaire. Forbes' list of the world's billionaires has listed Oprah as the world's only black billionaire from 2004 to 2006, and as the first black woman billionaire in the world that was achieved in 2003. As of 2014, Winfrey had a net worth in excess of $2.9 billion and has overtaken former eBay CEO Meg Whitman as the richest self-made woman in America. February 26, 2007, Building a Dream, the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy is released. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls South Africa is a girls-only boarding school that officially opened in January 2007 in South Africa. Inspired by her own humble beginnings and disadvantaged background, Oprah Winfrey stated that she founded the Leadership Academy to provide educational and leadership opportunities for academically gifted girls from impoverished backgrounds in South Africa who exhibited leadership qualities for making a difference in the world. On October 16, 2007, Winfrey revealed that she was diagnosed with a thyroid disorder that made her gain 20 pounds. January 15, 2008, Oprah Winfrey Network. On January 15, 2008, Winfrey and Discovery Communications announced plans to change Discovery Health Channel into a new channel called OWN, Oprah Winfrey Network. It was scheduled to launch in 2009, but was delayed and actually launched on January 1, 2011. November 20, 2009, Oprah Winfrey announces the end of The Oprah Winfrey Show. In a live broadcast from Chicago, a tearful Oprah Winfrey said that she has decided, after much prayer and months of careful thought, that The Oprah Winfrey Show would finish when her contract with CBS runs out in 2011. Her show aired nationally for 25 seasons, and it was one of the longest-running daytime television talk shows in history. The show received 47 Daytime Emmy Awards before Winfrey chose to stop submitting it for consideration, and it remains the highest-rated daytime talk show in American television history.
What if I said assumption is a dangerous thing? And when we repeat things, just because we heard them, it's not healthy for us. We really need to be studious and really need to apply ourselves to a standard that leads us again to a practical outcome, a practical, viable outcome. You know what I mean? It can't just be an outcome, because outcomes vary. And you have to have measurable and observable goals and objectives as you work towards this outcome, so you know when you're off the road, to the analogy.
Exactly. Which makes really assumption an assault on your mental clarity.
Yes. Or a vice or libation. Because you, as you stated before, you can be drunk on assumption. Yeah. You can be high on assumption. You can be under the influence of assumption. Right? That will lead you to being off the road. And it won't be until you hit the tree that you realize your assumption is wrong.
Yeah, and then you'll say hitting the tree was a mistake.
And you'll also say to what you said prior to now, I didn't know that was going to happen. Well, you have to also understand that assumption voids the acceptance of the probability of occurrences when you think, say, and do certain things. I think we can be better individually, as a community, and as a world if we avoid assuming things, we live at a standard, and we think in a way that allows us not to just repeat things because we've heard them, but to be studious and grow in an educated manner, so that our logic is based on knowing that there's a possibility that what we're assuming is right or wrong, true or false, may not be so, just because we were influenced to think, or we have heard from somewhere, that this is what others say and do. I think if we start at this thinking level consciously, the foundation is something we can build our whole selves on, and our whole body of work of self becomes something as we individually project it that's healthy for us as a whole. What if I said this?
What is your favorite all-time song, Warren?
It's undoubtedly, it's My Way.
Favorite book?
Well, the favorite book, from the book that had the most impact on my life was The Intelligent Investor by Ben Graham.
I knew you were going to say that. Warren Buffett, thanks very much.
This is Influenced by Content.